Hi there, my name's Garrett, and you're about to watch just a small clip from our podcast. We have a big podcast that has the news and some fun listener questions and what you're playing. It's a whole big show. You should go check it out. But yeah, go ahead and enjoy this small clip from the show. All right, this first news story comes to us from Darren Bonthus over at GameSpot, and it's a review roundup for the PSVR2. PlayStation VR2 officially arrives in a few days, and ahead of the official rollout, reviews have gone live for Sony's new headset, the successor to the original PSVR. PSVR2 combines a huge leap forward in technology while taking a few cues from the PlayStation 5 and its DualSense controller. So far, critics have been impressed by the elegant design of the headset and the powerful hardware inside of it. While PSVR2 has some incredible tech to marvel at, there are a few caveats as well, as reviewers have noted. Horizon Call of the Mountain is doing most of the heavy lifting on the software side of the equation, while every other game rolling out to PSVR2 over the next month consists of titles that are currently available on other VR platforms. The PSVR2 is undoubtedly a major step forward for PlayStation's virtual reality ambitions and one of the best headsets on the market, but in the ever-shifting landscape of virtual reality, its price and current value proposition leave it in an awkward position once again, Tamora Hussein wrote on GameSpot's PlayStation VR2 review. By the way, the starting price for the PSVR2 is $550, $50 more than or $150 more, depending on which PS5 version you buy, than the actual console itself. So, absolutely insane. There's a $600 bundle that comes with the Horizon Call of the Mountain game. It launches on February 22nd. So, whenever this episode goes live, I guess you'll be able to go purchase your very own. So GameSpot says, I hope that Sony and its partners start thinking outside the box a bit more when it comes to games and commit to supporting the platform long-term in a meaningful way. The excellent hardware deserves as much. If they do, the future of PSVR2 will be exciting. But for now, that excitement is built on the same thing VR has always enticed hopefuls with, potential. IGN
I could have swore I heard the same thing about a Sony product about 10 years ago. What was the name of it? It was a handheld, I think. Sorry, I'm interrupting.
What was it? Is it starts with that? Is it?
It meant life. It meant life.
Vitamins.
That's why something like that. I just remember it meant life. But anyway, you can go ahead.
IGN gave it a 9 out of 10 with top-notch visual quality and immersive tactile sense controllers. PlayStation VR2 represents a quantum leap over its predecessor, setting a new standard for console VR gaming. VGC gives it a 4 out of 5. Game Informer liked it. Although they did say it improves on basically every aspect of PlayStation VR, but not quite the virtual reality revolution I feel like we've been waiting for since the advent of the medium. Yeah, a lot of people, these later reviews from CNET and The Verge kind of say similar things. What if the same but better? Like they didn't really. So essentially, there's not much more we're getting with PSVR 2, right. and the reviewers are seeing that. Like there is like technical specs to it are better, but it didn't necessarily like revolutionize the game. It's just adding features that other VR headsets have. And making you pay way more for it and for less games. So, Adrian, I think we've talked about this before, but let me ask you again here. Are you swayed at all to buy PSVR 2 at all?
Not at all. I mean, so the biggest argument I've seen or not argument, but counterpoint that whenever we bring up, it costs, $150 more than a unit, than the console itself, right? So essentially, to play PSVR 2, you need at least, $950? And then a lot of people say, well, that's a lot cheaper than...
And that doesn't get you a game, though.
No, it doesn't. So realistically, we'll say 1,000. Other thing.
None of these reviews say anything about the fact that it is not backwards compatible with PSVR 1 games. So my entire PSVR 1 library, no good.
And then so a lot of them say, or it's $1,000 to get in the door, right? And then most people say, well, when you buy Vive or when you buy, Oculus hardware, that's just the cost of the headset alone. But most people who are buying the console aren't thinking about they're buying a console as an alternative to a PC, which usually costs what, 4 to 5, if you want a good one, can cost 4 to 5 times the cost of a PlayStation 5 or Series X, right? So they're not looking in the high cost market already. So if you're going to price this, you can't price it against PC hardware. You have to price it against other similarly, spec'd hardware. And with this being $550 plus the cost of the system, if Oculus comes out and says, hey, our Meta Quest 3 is going to be $500 and that's it, and you get all the stuff, and it's, around the same power range as PSVR2, it's going to murder PSVR2.
Yeah.
You're telling me I pay half the price and I get pretty much all the same game except for the PlayStation ones? And it's all in the headset. I don't have to have one cable running out of the back of it. You know what I mean? So you can't compare PSVR2 to PC grade virtual reality hardware. It doesn't work that way. It's not supposed to be in that market.
Yeah, because I mean, already, when people make that argument, it's like, well, right now the Oculus Quest 2 can play pretty much all the games that you can play on the PSVR.
Right.
And you don't need a computer.
It's just a little bit of a lower res.
And it's like $300 to $400 depending on what hard drive you get in it.
Right.
So it's like for $300 and nothing else, I could play all these games and it's slightly less resolution. Like, okay. Again, technically, if you look at the numbers, it's probably quite a bit less resolution. But to be completely honest, I have a Quest 2, and half the time, like, when you're in a game, you don't notice those things. You don't notice those things. If you're looking at it, if you're reviewing the headset, you notice it. If you're just playing a game, you don't notice it. You're in a world, you're so immersed, you don't give a crap. Like, in the real world application of this thing, like the Quest 2 does way more and is half the price. So
let me tell you, if I'm Meta and I see this headset coming out and I see what Sony's doing, you have to know, right? Just in the space alone, and with how big of a push that Meta has been making into the VR space and the what do they call that big effort that they're doing?
The metaverse.
The metaverse. You better believe a Quest 3 is imminent, right?
Oh,
so if I'm going to bring out, I'll say even this year, I'd say probably later sometime this year. If I'm bringing out a Quest 3, I'm putting it, even if we have to eat some of the cost, it needs to be $500. If it's $500 for the entire unit, you just kneecap Sony.
Yeah. $50 cheaper. And then like, if it's just as powerful, it doesn't have to be more powerful. Just make it
even
the
if
same
it's
thing.
less, even if it's like, I'd say maybe 75% of the power of PSVR2. Right. I would still pick a Quest every time at this point.
Yeah. Like, I don't have to buy like this crazy expensive console. Again, coming from the point of view of I don't have a PS5 already. Like, I don't have to buy this $500 console and the headset, or a $2,000 computer and the headset. I can just buy this headset,
right?
And it does it all. Like, man, yeah, that would be killer. Like, they would just destroy the PSVR2, which would be so sad because I want PlayStation to make cool things, but they just don't. They just keep
they make the wrong cool things instead of things that they should make.
But they just make bad choices.
Don't forget they halved even though they are like telling a story that they didn't, halved or 30% of their production orders because the pre-orders were so low.
Yeah, so already people aren't buying this thing. So I'd be curious come Wednesday to go drive around and go to some of the GameStops and go to Target and just see if there's any on the shelves. Because they're talking that initially, there was that report that came out they cut production, blah, blah, blah. And then they came out with a statement no, we didn't. We didn't cut production. VR sales are down, it's down, but now we're just going to push.
Bro, Sony,
we're pushing forward.
The manufacturers told us you did. Why would they lie?
Yeah,
they make the headsets. They know how many you need, how many you told them to make.
They know what's going on.
Come on.
Yeah. So right now there are 13 new titles and let's see. Oh, more than 30 games on track.
Now,
for
here's the
release.
other thing.
There's more than 30 games, but again, only one of them is PlayStation exclusive.
That's what I was going to say. How many out of those 30 games are A, from a PlayStation studio, and B, designed specifically for PSVR2? Because right now, I can only think of Horizon.
So there's two that are from PlayStation Studios, but only one is like
ground up for PSVR2.
So the two games are Horizon, Call of the Mountain, and then Gran Turismo 7. They have you can flip a switch on there where it makes the game VR. So now you can play the entirety of Gran Turismo 7 in VR. But again, the game wasn't originally designed. It might have been. But not in the sense, not in the same way that Horizon was. Mm-hmm. Like, because they obviously the developers knew that PSVR 2 was going to be a thing for a while, so I'm sure they like put it in there, but I'm not sure it was initially in there. It's probably like 6 months into development, and Sony's like, "Hey, by the way, we're making a PSVR 2. Can you maybe make it PSVR compatible just in case?" And they're like, "All right, we'll add it." You know, it's probably something like that.
You know,
crazy.
You know what though? That honestly, from Sony, and I don't know if I'm reading too much into it, but them only having one title designed for it, it kind of makes me feel like they're starting to get cold feet, or they don't really believe in it.
Like they don't actually believe in their product.
Right. You made a $500 headset and you only made one game for it? One game?
Hey, you can play Beat Saber on there again.
Yeah, I can also play it on my Quest 2 and my Quest 1 and
yeah. They have Moss 1 and Moss Book 2
also on Quest.
Oh, wait. They have Tetris Effect though.
Same deal.
Resident Evil Village. You can't play that anywhere else.
Yet.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, RE4 is on Quest, so it's only a matter of time.
Yeah.
But
no, 100%.
I'm just it's odd that they only did one game. Like I don't know. That's I guess I don't know if red flag is too much of an aggressive term for it, but it definitely raises some alarms for me from Sony that it seems like you don't really believe in this thing, or I don't know, you didn't have the resources to fully get behind it.
It doesn't necessarily raise a red flag to me, but it definitely it doesn't make me want to pre-order it. Now, if there was like 15 games, even 10 games at launch that they're like, hey, here's 10 games and
even 5, I would have been like, okay, 5 good premium exclusive games. Right. Now we can talk.
Okay, so 5 games, but in even if they were like, oh, and here's like 5 to 10 more coming in the next 6 months or a year or whatever. Like, okay, now you have a roadmap. Now I have 5 games at launch and then a roadmap for the next year. Okay, I'm getting 5 to 10 more games over the next year. But the fact that it's just like, here's one game, and from what I understand, we don't really know what else is coming in the future.
No, but they want you to spend $500.
Yeah, it's bizarre. Absolutely bizarre. Selkies in the chat says they aren't taking the risk, and if they do, they just barely touch the concept and back off. Like, they're not willing to just fully commit. Like they'll try weird things, but they're just like, let's just dip our toe in. And if it's just a little too cold for them, they're like, nope, we're out. And it's like, wait,
trust me,
like, get in, like get used to it a little bit, get comfortable in there. Dude.
Listen, Sony and I and the other 13 million Vita owners, we've done this dance before. Okay, I know this version of Sony all too well. When they're going to put something out there, and if it doesn't immediately make the money back, or if it's not an immediate super profit on like maybe day 7, they're going to start backing out. Because they don't have the deep pockets like Microsoft does, but they make a significant amount of money. Like PlayStation is one of the biggest earners for Sony. So I don't buy that they don't have the resources to do it.
Yeah, no, they have resources, and they're just scared, which is crazy because they know, you think by now they know they make good products.
Right. Excellent
But
hardware.
they're like, they just have such like a low self-esteem that they like just don't believe it. They're like, I don't know. No one's going to like it. Like, it's like, oh, come on.
Nobody bought it. Cancel it. It's over.
Get your head out of your butt, Sony. Thank you so much for watching that clip from our podcast. Remember, if you want to watch the whole episode, the full episode, link will be in the description below. You can click on that and check it out. We got listener questions. We got more news segments. We got what you playing. We got a lot of fun things. So yeah, more than just the news. There's a lot more to the show that you should go check out. So remember, click that link in the description. Check out that full episode.